So how do you respond to that, Professor Rivas Rodriguez, about the individual vision that he's creating versus a larger history?
I think that he has every right to create a documentary that's based on his personal vision. The one exception here is that it is going to be broadcast on PBS, and PBS does have a public trust. No one else is going to have an opportunity to produce a documentary about World War II that's 14.5 hours long. That's just not going to happen. No documentarian is going to have that opportunity. So when you do have this opportunity, you really have to make the most of it. And to that extent, include the stories that really affected all of Americans, because that is how people are looking at this. They do, and I agree with Nancy. I do think that, you know, he may look at it as his personal vision, but I think that out here, people that are not students of documentaries, what they're looking at is they really do see this as history. And these stories, these documentaries, the DVDs, the books that are based on it, are going to go into public schools around the country. And Latinos continue to be left out of the historical narrative, so this is just going to build on that widespread ignorance about Latino contributions to our country.
Well, staying with you, so given that, what do you want to see happen? Should the film, even though it's been completed, should it be reopened, recut? And who would make the final decisions about what goes into the final product?
I think, according to the PBS guiding principles and the roles and responsibilities that I've seen up on the website, PBS does have a responsibility before it accepts and distributes any documentary, any content. It has to be satisfied that that documentary fulfills all of the obligations, the guidelines that they have. So PBS really does have a responsibility to look at it for itself. And you know, I've talked to PBS officials, and I know that their hearts are in the right place. I do think they want to do the right thing, and I would have to say that PBS has to be satisfied that those considerations are being met. We will be more than happy to. We would be more than happy to, and I speak really simply on behalf of the people that are involved in our little group, Defend the Honor, which is a grassroots group of people from all over the country, and I don't speak for any other Latino organization, but we would be very happy to offer whatever resources and help to Ken Burns and to PBS, and we've extended that hand for a long time. So we're hoping that they will accept it, and that we'll be you know, able to help them out in whatever way, so that this is something that on September 23rd, when it does air, that it's something that we can all feel really good about.
And Nancy Bursky, is there ever a time to reopen, recut a film? And same question that I asked the professor: who makes the final decision on the final product?
You know, there are many ways of going about making a documentary, and throughout the process, people are usually showing it to others, accepting notes, making changes, and very often changing at various stages. Apparently, Ken had already locked this film, from what I understand. In spite of that, he seems to have decided to add some material. I think, Maggie, you probably have heard that there's been a resolution to this, and he is going to go in and bring some of the Latino subjects into the film. But I think there are a lot of ways to approach when people are omitted and groups feel aggrieved. And one way is to let that film air and then create discussion and conversation about it. I think it's a great way, actually, to draw attention to groups that have been omitted or overlooked. And I think that, you know, frankly, this controversy has certainly brought a lot of attention to the Latinos who have been overlooked, and I dare say it's not going to happen very often again in films that are attempting to be sweeping and historic. But I think that there is a problem in going back to a film once it's been locked, because the careful calibration of editing and cinematography and score and narration is quite delicate, actually. And not only do I commend the Latinos for drawing attention to having been overlooked in this film, but I also commend Ken Burns for agreeing to go back and add material, because I know how difficult that is for a person who's carved out and crafted what he or she may believe is an artistic work.
Are you concerned about the pressures that were brought from politicians and, at least reportedly, from some of the sponsors?
I am actually, because I think it's a slippery slope. I believe that there are a lot of documentary filmmakers today who are concerned and watching this controversy very carefully, because it's going to be a little nervous-making as they go forward with their own work, trying to figure out who might be either looking at it, looking over their shoulders, or coming back after the film is locked and insisting that they make some changes. I don't think any of us want that to happen in a civil society. I think we want a good deal of artistic freedom. I think we've all fought very hard for that, and we don't want to see that go away. I also believe that the whole issue of artistic freedom, a creative license in making documentaries, is a critical one for our society, and I would hate to see that argument overshadow the very valid argument that Latinos have about how often they're represented in historical works.
And we just have a minute, but Professor Rivas Rodriguez, what happens next? If he does go back and recut the film, are you watching carefully to see the final product? Is there a chance that this fight continues?
Well, I'm hoping that we might have a preview before it airs in September. And I do think that it really has exposed some weaknesses in lots of different systems. But one weakness that I have seen is that I really do not understand how PBS in 6.5 years didn't raise a flag on this. That seems very difficult to understand, and the other part of it is that Ken Burns received public funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities and several other foundations. And I write grant proposals all the time, and I would like to understand, are we all held to the same standards? Are all of the standards equally applicable to all of us? Because I know that when I write a grant proposal, I have to justify why I'm looking at this particular population of people. So I think that we need to look at that.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Maggie Rivas Rodriguez, Nancy Bursky, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.